Guys. Okay. This. Okay, we're all set. Just give me a minute. Okay. Why aren't we not connecting, Hamish? Always takes a minute. Okay. Hamish was unable to join. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. I know, we're not connecting. I know you did. It keeps on saying. It's just acting out, triggering us. Yes, please. I hope we do connect because it's playing games with us. Okay. Yes, it's triggering us already. It's making sure we're pretty triggered up before we go in the session. That's hilarious. Ramesh, I gave you the heads up. You're trying to escape this. I'm not gonna let you. Whoa. I'm gonna make sure you join this live. Oh, let's see what happens. Yeah, let's try. Let's see if this works at my end, if it's giving issues. I hope you're not sitting outside, Hamish. Nope. Still not helping, huh? I don't know what to do. Hamish is unable to join.
It's worked.
Oh, hi! I'm triggered.
You are fantastic. What a way to start the evening. You're looking fab, by the way.
Thank you. How have you been, Hamish?
Triggered.
Are you?
Well, we try so hard to get this technology to work and it doesn't, but, just that's the way it goes. No,
Yes.
I had a podcast go live this week, so I've had a
Oh,
really, really busy week trying to get things
yes.
done, and yeah, so all is good in my world. Mm.
Wow. What's the
Mm.
podcast about? Fill us in a bit.
Men.
Ooh.
It's about men daring to learn how to not get triggered, learn how to become better, more authentic men, men who are able to hold space for their partners, their lovers, their family, their children at work, men who can begin to take off a mask and just be themselves, things like that. Really, it's a really important, powerful conversation. And
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, and the first few conversations are amazing. The first one, the gentleman got married in his very late teens, got three beautiful children, and wife died of cancer. And yeah, he had to start a life all over again, not as two people, just as himself. So that was a incredible story, and he made sense of it. He stopped his big job, got a smaller job, brought the kids up, learned how to talk because going to coffee mornings, hanging out with women, he learned how to talk and how to be vulnerable. So yeah, just stories of men daring to become better people.
Wow. Interesting.
Mm,
That's really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Hamish,
yes.
men's triggers. Yeah.
Hmm.
Can I ask a triggering question, or should I ask you what triggers men?
Start whichever you want. I am. I'm very zen today.
No, I don't want the. I want the. Oh.
Yep, yep.
All right. All
I can
right.
add a bit of that.
Hamish.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm, what's wrong with men today? Why do they say things like, "What do you bring to the table?"
Why do they say things like that? Because
Yeah.
they are very fearful of being asked the same kind of question and having to be honest and being uncertain and being unsure and the dynamics around, what is my role? We've discussed roles and identity, but this is a part of it. But what do I bring? Well, I bring traditionally my parents' generation and a lot of my generation. We would bring the income, we would bring the financial support, we would bring that kind of thing, but not even that anymore. So it's like, well, what do I bring? I have to bring emotional stability and things like that. Being emotionally available and being able to listen and being able to be listened to as well. Without flying off the handle if I don't get what I want, um, and challenging the patriarchy because that doesn't help you women. It certainly doesn't help us men either. So there's a new paradigm, and men really, I think, a lot of them don't know what they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, I agree. So, Hammer, so much is changing, right? In the times we're living in, roles,
Mm-hmm.
identities, everything is being questioned, everything is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, with all of that, what triggers men, what triggers the modern men actually in the modern world?
What is the man in the modern world?
Because it's no
Definitely.
longer, the conversation is no longer about I'm the financial provider, right?
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
so so so
So,
then what
mm.
triggers him?
his
What triggers?
identity, his identity, being respected. It's really important for a man to be respected and being noticed.
What do you
It's.
mean? Explain me how a man expects to be respected
Well,
or
no. Okay.
receive
Let's
that.
let's let's rephrase that. If you
Okay.
disrespect a man, he's going to shut down. If he's
Okay.
constantly disrespected, he's not going to make an effort because it's just like, well, I'm doing what I do. I am, this is me. And if you don't respect me for who I am, well, then why are you with me? What's wrong with me if you're not going to respect me? I respect you. Not always, absolutely not always, but respect is when a man feels respected, he will do anything for you, basically. If when a
Interesting.
woman appreciates that the respect for him, it allows him to be seen. It's kind of a validation if you want to keep it that, but it's
Yeah.
far more
Yeah.
important than that. It's it's like love. It's like flowers. It's what's important to you. For a lot of men, it is that respect because you know I do things this way. This is my way. It may not be your way. It works for
Mm.
me. And if you're not going to respect me as a human being, then what am I doing here?
Yeah, yeah. Hamish, I'm still trying to understand from a woman's perspective.
Mm.
I don't know, right? So you're teaching me, right?
Hmm.
So when you say respect me, don't be disrespectful. What are the things women do that makes a man feel disrespected, and then what are the things women do where men feel respected? I understand the appreciation part, but I'm
Mm.
more interested in understanding the respect part.
Okay, for me, it's important for me to be respected for my decisions, even if
Okay.
they're not right, for who I am and how I am. Um, if someone's going to turn up in my life and they're going to say, "Well, that's wrong. You need to change that. You need to change that. I don't like this. I don't like that about you. Your house. No, we want to change the paint." Just like what the you know
Yeah.
this is me. I don't have to change myself for you. I have to compromise. There's a dance. You have to compromise. But if everything I do is wrong because it's not how you like it done, then we need to have a really honest conversation, because I might, the classic one, I might fold the toilet roll so it goes like that. You
Yeah.
might fold it so it goes that way. And I know some people get fairly uptight about things like that. Yeah, that's a trivial one, but
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I do it my way because that's how I do it. It works. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you don't like it, you need to give me a very good reason why you don't like it. And if it's life threatening, fair enough. If it's just because you like it that way, you know,
Yeah.
maybe we just take turns. So it's
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, finish.
well, so it's things like that.
Mm.
Being allowed to talk, being allowed to listen, being being seen for who we are. We're not very complicated things, men.
Mm.
Um, we are much more emotional than society dictates,
Yeah.
and we are, and we will hide them, and when we dare to be vulnerable, if you're going to bring up something, a conversation from a while ago, that's just not okay. That is really disrespectful. That's really like using a vulnerability, that kind of thing, and that's not okay at
What do
all.
you mean if you're bringing a conversation from before?
Well,
Explain.
let's say. I mean, I want to just keep this within the realms of triggering.
Yeah.
Let's say
Yeah.
we've had a conversation and I triggered you, okay,
Mm.
and we talked about it, and um, yeah, so I triggered you about something, and then we talked it through and said, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that again, and that gets brought up out of context. It's just like, well, we've discussed it, we've resolved it. That scenario hasn't been brought up, but you've dragged it back up. Oh, you always do this, Hamish. You always smash the plates down when you're slightly irritated. You always do this, you always do that. So we've had that conversation and we've left it behind. I don't do that anymore. So it's things like that. It's weaponizing old stories, if you like. Um,
Mm.
that
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good example. So, digging up the stuff that is out of date
Already
is
sorted. You're
tricky.
saying stop bringing the past that was already sorted and resolved, but you keep on bringing it unless it
Mm.
wasn't resolved, and bringing that up would then make sense. Hamish, I want to go a few steps back where you said, "Don't tell me what to do when you come in my house. Change the color of the paint. Do that. Do this." Right? From one end, it sounds like the other person is acting like dictatorship. Right? Do this, and then another thing is coming up. Right? Uh, you know and obviously now this is going to be a bit more complex because it's a cultural difference, right? In our part of the world, right, culturally women leave their parents home and they move
Mm.
into their husbands homes, right?
Mm.
And for me, when you said that, what triggered me was that
Mm.
I'm leaving my space, I'm leaving my home, my room, everything
Mm.
for you, and you cannot change the color of the paint on your wall, of something neutral, not like a pink color, obviously, something neutral, because it's your space, and I had that struggle with my
Mm.
husband because it was all about, this is me, this is my space, don't change anything. then why did you bring me in your space? I'm a woman. I'm going to come. I'm going to put a decoration piece. Maybe not
Yep.
on your space, but at least I should be allowed to put it on my bedside table, right?
Yep.
And then, so if you're not going to meet me halfway, then why are we in that? Why are we there?
There exactly is where you get to. That's when the conversation starts.
Okay.
And we all know you give a woman anything, she makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, you buy a house together, you move in with someone, she'll make it into a home. You know, you give her the seed, she brings you a baby. All these lovely cliches, they are right. So it's the conversation. You know, the great example here, my girlfriend moved in with me not very long ago. We've now got some lovely chairs, we've got some new flowers, we've got some plants, we've got a lovely glass thingy. And it looks beautiful. So yeah, she's come in and we've done this together. There's been that conversation. It's not just been, no, I hate that, I hate that. It's
Yeah.
been a conversation.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you know, exactly as you said. You moved in with your husband. You moved from your home, your room, your stuff into that. You didn't just say, right, that's wrong, that's wrong, that telly's horrible, that furniture. You had to have that conversation. It sounds like you didn't actually get respected. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And that is the problem. You did your bit, and that's really unfortunate. You know,
Yeah.
I could have said to my girlfriend, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That would have just been stupid. You know, it looks lovely. I'm not going to show you around because there's washing hanging around, but you know, it it is always give and take, so that there is that. But the triggering is when it's just like when it's black and white, when there's no room for conversation. It's my way or the highway. Both
Yeah.
parties, not just men doing this.
Absolutely.
It's triggers come from a lack of communication, a lack of understanding, and also ignorance. Really important. You know,
Mm.
you know stuff that the next person doesn't. They could trigger you with something from ignorance, very seldom from deliberate unkindness. Yes, some people are,
Mm.
but you know, triggers just happen. Men get triggered by all sorts of things, which are probably more about them, I suspect,
Mm.
them, their stuff. For some people, that's very important. So yeah,
Would you agree if I said that men get triggered because men like control? Not, no, I'm not talking about the manipulative kind of control, right? But men like a certain kind of control. And when they see that we're not able to control the narrative or the situation or whatever, their anxiety, uh, instead of talking about their anxiety or their fear, they get triggered, and then it comes out as anger or rage or frustration or something like that. Would you agree with me?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Then what do you do? It's not my fault, like. So,
It
like,
it's a difficult one, isn't it?
yeah.
It's not your responsibility
Hmm.
to not trigger me. It's certainly not your responsibility to walk around on eggshells just in case.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Mm.
You know, and when the triggers happen, then it's resolve them. You
Yeah.
know, we had this conversation, and you know, the way you described it last time was all about making myself safe. I love me, I make myself safe. You know, that's
Yeah.
really, really important. And the way I said it, well, the person who said that to me, I love her, she loves me, she didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that with her. So I have to, we both have a route of going back to that first principle of I'm safe, I love them, they love me. So what cropped up was from ignorance, from stupidity, from miscommunication, whatever, or this is something that we've become familiar with each other and we're just stepping on each other's toes. We're not realizing we're tired, we're angry, a million things.
Yeah.
But back to the control thing. Yeah, yeah. A lot of men like it this way because it's when you're triggered, you're being pushed out of your safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the men just don't have the language to express that anxiety and that fear. So it just, I've just seen it just always till day now always has been blown out of
Yeah.
proportion, unfortunately. And I'm
Mm.
not going to say that I'm going to figure it out, because men need to figure that out on their own. uh
Do you
but
know?
you know,
I'm gonna call you on that one. I don't think they need to figure it out on their own. I think they need the space and to help a communication and have honest conversation where you, the woman, the friend, the lover, the partner, can say, "Hang on, yeah, we this isn't working. We need to have a conversation."
yeah,
It's not absolutely not your responsibility to wet nurse them, but at the same time, if yeah, I think it's a lover's responsibility, a partner's responsibility to help comprehend that what's going on. Otherwise, that trigger has served no purpose. It just annoys, annoys, annoys. Resentment builds up. So I think, but again, you do it 3 or 4 times and they don't respond, then it's just like, well, I've done my bit. It's not your
yeah,
responsibility 100 times. Absolutely not.
yeah.
No. Mm,
We were specifically talking between relationship as in partner and stuff like that. I was
mm,
more kind of like going broader as a daughter and a father, a sister and a brother.
mm,
In those relationships also, and some relationships, like especially with your dads, it's very complicated. They have their own set ways, even with brothers.
mm,
But having said that, Hamish, you started with the first thing that came up when I asked you was, and you said respect. Respect is very important, and appreciation is very important to men. And then I was like, I did that with my husband. We can all
mm.
speak from our own experiences, right?
Yeah.
And I did everything in the checkbook. At that time, we didn't have that social media teaching us
Hmm.
these things that we now get to learn. So I had that language before social media taught us that again, or
Mm,
reinforced it, whatever. So I did all the things. Appreciated him, respected him, was the good wife. I'll take care of you, I'll press you, I'll make you fresh food and stuff.
mm,
uh, but I learned that I was not respected, and my kindness was taken for granted. And women who are submissive and kind and soft and gentle,
hmm.
um, men abuse them,
Yeah.
right? So it's not safe for me. I have to man up, be in my masculine, act like a man. And when I noticed, not that I'm trying to put anybody down, what I noticed around was women who were naggier or were using their husbands because they are rich and they have the money. Those marriages were going super great, right? The men respected the women and stuff like that. So for me, in my little experience, it was very confusing, right? Because nowadays, when we got the checklist on social media and you read it, and it's like, oh, well, Hamish is teaching me to respect and appreciate. Damn, I did all that, but what did
Mm,
I get? I
yeah.
didn't get what he's saying I
Mm,
should have received from that person. So then, the question then turns and flips to what you said was, both have to be on the same page, right? In my marriage it didn't work. I'm
mm,
just kind of giving context because I'm just thinking about the women in my culture and how they operate and they understand, right? So you try so hard, you do everything by the textbook, and you still suffer. There's nothing wrong with you.
no.
It's just the person in front of you. And
Mm,
then there is Hamish is my friend. I've known you for 6 years. I message you, I'm triggered, right? And then we have a conversation, right? It's never blown out. We've never had a fight. We've never
mm,
had a disagreement. Even if we have somehow, we've just floated through it because we were able to communicate. And then I'm like, oh, like you're saying, you do communicate, but the other has to be receptive. The other has to be open, you know so then when you come to triggers, my
mm,
thing is with men, question
hmm.
is, when you said no, the woman has to be holding that space, not taking responsibility. When a man acts out, because he wanted to control a narrative and he's not, and he's feeling anxious, and now he acts out. You can't do this, or you're not going anywhere. Stay home, or I don't know,
Mm.
whatever the narrative is. Um, and then the woman also kind of explodes. I will not. I will do what I want to. It's my life, or whatever. You can't
Mm.
control me and stuff like that. Now,
Yep.
obviously, in that situation, both of them have been triggered, right? The woman is triggered and the man is triggered. But I'm saying in a situation where the man blows, right? But
Hmm.
the woman is still there, grounded. Why does the woman? Why does the woman have to initiate? Why can't she just stay there and let him blast and then calm down and come back and say, listen, I was triggered, you know, and this was what is happening for me. And then they have the conversation. Or are you saying that the woman has to bring it up that why did you act that way? I'm here for you. Now let's talk.
No. That the first bit you said, the first bit. No, it's not a case of being submissive. I don't agree with that at all. No, I don't think
Okay.
Um, calling him out is okay. Well, I was going to say calling me out is okay. Calling him out is okay if you know he's not going to get violent. I mean, this is the problem. If
Yes.
you from I suspect you were fearful. Yes, there we are. I mean,
Very fearful.
your whole demeanor exactly. So you can't
Yeah.
I don't have the answers in that relationship. When I was what I was talking about there is starting a communication. Calling him out
Yeah.
is a communication the people have if that couple have got those healthy boundary. If when she feels safe in there to say, hang on, that's not okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. But if that is the result, then you don't do it. You
I just want to be clear with women here,
mm,
and you can also like correct me when you said call him out. I understand with
mm,
time and having the skill of effective communication.
mm,
Is calling him out is not saying you are acting out. It's more about I'm not feeling safe in this moment with you.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
mm,
more about not pointing the finger
no,
because he is going to become defensive, going to say you triggered me or you did this. So I'm saying I think it's more about even in the triggered situation where you are safe, right, to express what's coming up. It's more about having the I statements in. I think that's very necessary because I think both parties could go more men. I think, but both parties could go on the defense
oh,
when you
very,
see
very
you are
easily.
doing this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Once you start one, you do this, you do this, you do this. I'll close down, you'll close down. We'll fight. We'll go separate ways. We'll be in separate beds by the end of the week, and then they'll be like, "Here's the ring," the end of the month. Absolutely. And it is. It's when you do this, I feel that's such powerful language. And then
Yeah.
you're not going, you're doing that to me, you're making me frightened. But when you raise your voice, I feel scared. It's exactly that conversation, and it's a
Mm.
hard. It's a hard. No, it's not. That's not fair. It's it requires one to get into a self comfortable state.
Mm.
I know you do. You can do this. You've done a lot of work like me, so you can get into that space. And
Yeah.
it's not pointing the finger. It is saying I feel X, frightened, lonely, let down, hurt when you
Yeah.
say this when this scenario happens when you react that way. There is a you in there somewhere, but it's a beautiful way of diffusing it. Again, it's
Yeah.
communication. It's all communication, and it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
difficult bit is when the trigger happens is to not fall into that unconscious pattern of blaming, of reacting, of falling back into your own stories, of falling back into your own stories. The scenario could be you said something to me, I snap. By snapping, I'm going back into that old story and I'm not even listening to you. I'm in that old story. I'm regurgitating it. I'm blaming you. And it just gets a mess. And I have to come out of it and then when you said that, it makes me feel. And it's hard to do. It requires a
Yeah.
lot of emotional intelligence, but it's really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Hamish, let's talk. let's elaborate this. What are some of the very common, um, I don't know, things, words, situations, I don't know how to word it myself, that really trigger men, you know? This is what, like, this is the cheat sheet or whatever you want to call it. This is what really this is what really would trigger. Obviously, I do understand it varies from person to person, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
being a man and having so many conversations and doing your podcast with so many men and all that, what is your understanding of the men's language, of what truly triggers them and what should completely be avoided, especially from the female end?
There's two different things. So what should be avoided sounds like, what do I need to do to walk on eggshells so I don't upset him?
Yeah,
That's not the right language.
language.
Um, but so that's not the right language, because you're not, no one's going to win from that situation. That is the dutiful wife, the little woman staying at home, exactly the role that you did, because he would not listen to you, and things like that.
Yeah.
So what triggers? Not being listened to, being interrupted. Once I start being vulnerable, I need to know I can think through what I'm saying, what I'm thinking and feeling. And if I pause, doesn't mean I finish talking because I'm thinking. For me, some people can talk and think at the same time. Once I start thinking and talking, I start to go slowly and I have
Yeah.
to breathe. So things like that for me are really important. And I think for most men, as soon as we are brave enough to be vulnerable, we have to feel safe.
Mm.
And that feeling of safety is so deeply ingrained because of society, because of boys don't cry, because of expectations, because of roles, because of so many things. So that safety becomes paramount. Um, and if I start to say something and I'm cut off or I'm interrupted, I'm not allowed to talk. A great one. That's one
And
which
which
is
I
like, okay,
interrupt you all the time.
uh,
I
yeah,
never see you
you
get triggered by me.
you haven't seen all the broken crockery around me where I've just gone like this.
Oh my God.
No, it's when we are having a conversation, we are not in that scenario, but we
Yeah.
we could be.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that's one. Another one that's important is space and quiet.
mm,
Sometimes it's nice to have a cup of coffee and just sort of let the morning begin. Um, I do need quiet time. I go off for walks and things like that. That's really, really important to me. Um,
mm,
Other triggers for men. I mean, the conversations I've had with men, very much, if a man's gaming or a man's doing something, not just gaming, if a man's doing something, to get interrupted can be really irritating, especially if it's something not important. However, that not important to him, this is really, really music, really important. What's not important to me might be really important to you. I mean, I've had conversation with people who say, what do you want for supper? I don't mind. Whatever you want. It's like the woman, the man to the woman, I don't mind, whatever you want. She doesn't want to make those decisions. She wants husband, she wants boyfriend to make a decision, because they're a couple. And if he's always, I don't mind, all that load is on you. And this
mm,
this relationship I'm thinking of, everything was, I don't mind. And he came from, this used to be me. I don't mind. It's not important. I will eat anything. It's really not important. However, one divorce later, I realized that when I'm asked, what do I want? Make it up. Fish and chips, barbecue, this, that. Doesn't matter. What
yeah.
she wanted was me to take some of that cognitive load off. Me to
Mm,
say, I'd like this tonight. Even if she was cooking it or
mm,
I was cooking it, just give me some fucking support. Give me some. I don't want to make all
emotional
the
support.
decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this poor guy, he didn't understand that being I don't mind was actually really tough on her. And I did the same thing with my ex-wife, because I didn't matter. It really
Yeah.
wasn't important to me, but I didn't realize that. So I've labored that, because that's one that is triggering, because I don't mind. You
Mm.
need to mind. It's important for your relationship, for your love of your life. Yeah, really important one. So yeah, going back, that was being interrupted. That's something that's not important. So when I'm interrupted, I close the laptop down, put my phone down. Usually, I'm getting better at that to
Mm.
give my undivided attention. Oh, hang on a minute, I'm just finished something, and that's fair. You can do that to your kids when they're pestering you. Yeah, yeah. Hang on, let me just finish.
All the
Hang
time. I
on.
say it all the time. All the time.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And
that's okay. But
yeah,
then you've got that communication rather than just like chatter, 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 I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, and then explode. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so it's it all comes down to communication. I just wish I'd known this when I
I
was
guess
in
we
my
all
twenties.
learned it. Yeah, yeah.
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 But
Hamish, you spoke about emotional safety and having that space of safety, and I'm going to trigger you, but
hmm
what came up for me was,
mm,
and I know it's a bitter thing, but it is also there's a lot of truth in it as well.
mm,
Was that men keep on talking about emotional safety all the time, right? But for decades, for centuries, women are the one never feeling safe in
yeah.
the society. We're not safe when we go out. We can't go out. We can't dress this way. We
Mm,
shouldn't be out this late.
mm,
Uh, so then there's rage, there's anger, there's resentment that you ask for emotional safety, while all the women in this world are not safe because of you,
yeah.
right?
Mm.
So then, being a man, what would you say to me?
Two things, and one is contentious. Don't paint every man with the same brush.
Yeah,
Really, really important because it's just blanket. All men are, I'd rather have the bear. Most men are not dangerous. And
yeah,
that's not an excuse, it's the truth. Most men are not dangerous. However, those that are have painted everybody else. So, and I completely hear you. And think it's so sad that women don't feel safe, full stop.
yeah,
Um, and that's part of the Brave Man Project is to encourage men to be able to create that safe space for their families. Um,
mm.
but back to what you said, I don't know what the answer is. I can't remember what the question was. So the safe space, the emotional, that's right, the emotional
Yeah.
safe space we wanted. Um, Probably because we didn't realize we weren't giving it, that we weren't holding, making that safe space. Um, yeah, I think everything is, if we are evolving. Men and women are evolving. It's becoming apparent that more men are dangerous than think they are. A lot of men aren't. But the safety thing is really, really big. And I think part of it, men have had to keep themselves safe. They've been so busy keeping themselves safe and providing for, they haven't thought about emotional safety. And then the dangerous ones, they
Take
should
up a
be
lot of the
locked up.
space on this space.
They take a lot of space when they could be doing other things. Like, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I don't know whether that's answered your question, but
No, no, it
I
makes
do.
sense. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Hamish, I want to really acknowledge you here because I remember we've known each other for 6 years, right? And
Mm,
initially when I came, moved back to my country, I had this mindset, all men in my country, because of patriarchy, are narcissists. They are controlling, they want to control their wives, they can't go out, they have to dress a certain way, and we have to obey them. That's how it is, right? So that just was too much for me after coming out of my marriage, and it just felt that all
mm,
men fall in that category. And for the longest time, every time I thought, if I couldn't even think about being with a man because I just didn't feel safe. But every time I did think that I needed a man, I always thought it's never going to be from my country. No way, because they're all the same, right?
mm,
And then obviously I did a lot of live streams and I spoke to a lot of men, and they talked about their abuse with women hitting them, and they're not being able to go and talk to their friends because they're ashamed of it. How do you tell your friends that a woman was beating me up and stuff like that?
mm,
So it was an experience and a learning curve for me. And then, over time, I've spoken with you, and when I've been angry or frustrated, I said, all men are like that, Hamish. All men do this. They do. And you've gently taught me this. No, Mavish, not all men. Yes, most men, but not all men.
Mm,
And that kind of really made me pause, Yes, there are a lot of men who do horrible things, and
mm,
women who are raped or been through injustice because of a man, to tell them that they're safe. No, they're not safe. They don't
mm,
feel safe around men. It takes a lot to heal that.
mhm,
So for me, I just wanted to take this moment to acknowledge that you helped me have that viewpoint about
mm,
men, and you have been that man as my friend in my life who has been emotionally safe. I've screamed on phone with you, I've cried with you, I've done so many things with you. I've not cared in the sense that is it safe in this space with Hamish,
mm,
and you one man does that for you in any capacity, and that leaves a blueprint. Okay, this man was safe. How?
mm.
That can there be one more? Then you start to question reality. And I have a son, and it's been so important for me in every capacity to make him become that version where he makes women feel safe.
Yeah.
And I had to step back because I remember at a time I was being overbearing on him, because he'd say, oh, the girl hit me, and I said, why did you hit the girl? Did you hit the girl back? You're not supposed to hit girls. So like that mindset that I'm raising another child who will make another
Mm,
girl feel unsafe in this world. How will I live with that reality for myself? So if I'm being honest, there's a part of me that says, there are two parts of me, right? There's one part of me that says we have picked ourselves up as women, right? We learn to pick ourselves after whatever men did to us, right?
mhm.
And we've learned to survive even feeling unsafe,
Yeah.
right? And then there is this other part that if we could do that for ourselves as women, right? Why are men so bitter, so carry so much hate towards women, and do so many things towards women, and then it's the woman's fault because a man didn't process, or it was his childhood trauma, or it was something. Women also had those traumas, right? So then why I'm not trying to blame men, but I'm really trying to understand
Mm,
that why is that projected or done towards women, like, because I'm trying to, with the why, I'm trying to see where we
mm.
can build more safety around, you know.
That is such a great question. Um, what's immediately coming to mind is because it's always been that way. And what
Mhm.
I mean by that, yes, you've got it. You understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not a good answer. It's the honest answer. It has been
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Absolutely.
um, thank you for understanding that comment because it has been that way and that's just,
Mhm.
it's crap.
It
And it
stems
is
from that
changing.
belief. It does
Yeah.
stem. And I'll tell you something. When I was questioning what happened to me in my marriage and stuff like that,
Mm,
this question kept on coming to me, Hamish, for so long, alone, when I was alone, that I would speak to God and I would say, I want to meet that woman, you know, at the other side of the world. When I go to
mm,
that side of the world, hopefully after my hundreds, that I want to meet that woman who set the standard where she said, he's a man and it's okay. He's a man, it's okay, he can slap you. He's a man, he can go have an affair because he's a man. He's the man, you stay quiet. And I was like, God, one day I want to see that woman who started this cycle, and that cycle came down generations, and today's woman suffers because of that woman who started this narrative. For me, it was, in that moment, was it's a woman who started it. It didn't come that a man started this. For me, honestly, when I was hurting and questioning why I went through what I went through, was
mm.
who started this? Why did our grandmothers and great grandmothers and all the women we sit with say, well, he's a man? And it really, like, you know makes me really angry. But why? I mean, you really true. I
You
told you before before this is not going to go well.
no, that's
I'm so sorry. Mm.
I'm really curious why you were blaming a woman. I didn't interrupt because I wanted to see where that came from.
Because that's what
And
women say, right? I understand a man taking a man's side, right? Because it's the same gender. Oh yeah, because that suits men, right? Because
mm,
if a man takes a man's side, then his power stays in power, that you be submissive to your husband, right? Did you provoke your husband? So all men think like that, right? But my thing was when women were saying it, and women in society do it, in every culture they do it, right?
yeah,
When a man has an affair, it's justified, it's understood. Like we don't question this, and it boils me. Why? Like,
mm,
where is it proven? Scientifically, I don't know. Where is it proven that a man is allowed to cheat because he's a man? Like, where? And then the Islamic, if I were to bring my religious belief in there, we in our belief has seen a prophet who was
mm,
seduced by a woman and did not. Multiple times he was seduced, but he had a standard for himself and he walked away. So God already set that standard, showed men an
mm,
example. And then when you speak to men like that, they say, well, he was a prophet. You know, I've never truly sat in my society with women and said,
mm.
no, a man shouldn't cheat. You know, we should question
Absolutely
them. We should
shouldn't.
hold them accountable for it,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Whatever the reason is, uh, but we don't hold them accountable. This mindset that we have to accept that men are like that is just adding fuel to the fire by letting them
yes.
be like that.
Yeah.
And that's what boils me. I say no, you hold them accountable. Why?
Yep.
Would you let me do the same thing and accept
Mm,
me back? No.
mm,
We are labeled as women in our society. We are labeled. We are thrown out of our society. Nobody wants to mingle with us.
mm,
Hamish, me being a single mom, it's so hard.
yeah.
Forget about if I'm labeled.
Mm,
So and it does happen in different cultures, not maybe not that prevalent, but it does. So
mm,
that's where it's stemming from for me. In all those moments when I came back home and I sat, I told God that I want to meet that woman who said that
mm,
it's okay, it's a man. This is what men do. This is what men do when they're angry, they come and slap you and they take out your anger on you. This is what men do, that they rape you. That's what men are. As women, I feel saddened for women who justified it. And then we blame men. We're really not doing, it's not really serving women by using these sentences. We have to change the narrative that why are you doing this? You have childhood trauma, your dad beat you up, you were molested. Oh, guess what? So were we. Let's talk
mm,
about it. Because
mm,
I worked on myself, and I'm just giving women's example, not personally me. I worked on it. Why didn't you?
mm,
Why is your trauma telling you that you can do this and it's justified? And I hold empathy for that, but it's done to me. But I'm being more empathetic and more nurturing and more kind, that it's okay, it happened. Really.
mm. I'm still trying to get my head around this. Who's the first woman? And I think the first woman was beaten by her husband.
Yeah.
I think that first woman was beaten by her husband, so that she just carried that narrative to protect herself. I don't. I honestly do not think it's been passed down. Yeah, the women are the women. Let me see. Is that right? You can probably answer. Well, you kind of answered that question, but I think both sexes advocate for the patriarchy. It doesn't serve.
Absolutely.
I don't think it serves either. But as you said, that's a man. It's okay. It's not okay. And that whole narrative, it's a boy. Boys hit girls if they like. Boys hit girls if they like girls, or whatever the expression is. That's not okay. You can't teach your kids. That's not acceptable. It
Mm,
wasn't acceptable 2, 3 generations ago. It was tolerated. Now it can't be tolerated. So I
mm.
think I don't know who the first woman was, but as I suspect she was beaten in every single way. So that became that narrative. It's men, they do it, because if she did stand up, it'd be another black eye. Um, is my sense there? So it's a self protection thing. Yeah, I think that is my feeling there. Yeah, difficult
It,
one, and
it
it's
is, isn't it? Because Hamish,
mm,
I was reading history, right? And men
mm,
are like that, and men do that, and men have always been like. It really has never sat with me, right? Like,
mm,
no, I don't think so. Men were like that. We've had prophets over so many generations. If I look through my religious lens only, right?
mm,
And when I look through that, I've seen so many incredible men, and then I've read. I mean, I'm not that much, but whatever much I've read,
mm,
women were more safer back in time, although they didn't have much rights, right? The rights were not there,
mm,
but they were more safer. Like they could go out and work, right? So
mm,
I'm just talking about the Arab time, right? When our last prophet came. Women worked. They worked in the fields. They wore dresses where their body was revealing and stuff like that. No men ever in history is recorded that they harassed her or passed a
mm,
comment on her and stuff like that. It was very history, how history paints it, it's very clear. That's the
mm,
brothel. That's where you go to women like that. That's it.
mm,
These are respectful women. They work in the fields. That's how they dress up. And men knew their boundaries. They
mm,
would, they talked, they liked a woman. They said to that woman, I like you. And there were decent conversations over
mm,
and over again with different prophets I've read, different stories. There
mm,
were boundaries, respectful boundaries. Men knew their limitations
mm,
and stuff like that. Though women were not respected and they were killed if they were born as babies and they were not given inheritance and stuff like that, that lacked, that education and that those things lacked, but the
mm,
general things were not there. Now we talk about, which is good, women are financially secured, right? We're
mm,
financially secured, you get heritage, you get whatever, but our physical, the most important thing for survival, right?
mm.
That our physical safety.
Yep,
We are robbed.
yep,
We are completely robbed.
mm,
When I was even living in US, um, I could still go out at 12 and 1, right? Nothing ever happened. But Hamish, I never felt safe.
no,
Are my cars locked? Why is that guy looking? Why is that? We're always like scanning, like, am I safe? Why is this car following me and stuff like
mm,
that? So truly, you're a man. How do we change that? How do we bring that safety back? Like, I really imagine living in a world where you can feel safe around men, not just a few men,
all
but
of them. Yep,
most men.
mm,
But not all. I won't put all of them because there are a lot of women also
mm,
who not really need to work on themselves. So the narrative from not most men,
mm,
right?
mm,
Not all men are like that, but most men are like that. To most men are like that.
yeah.
You know, how do
Mm.
we get there?
Education.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Education. It has to be, and that's happening. Every generation is drawing a line in the sand and saying, "I will not teach my children to behave like how I was brought up to behave." You've told me just now that you're bringing up your son to have far more respect for women, whereas you your father your father was taught completely differently, and that's just what it was. There wasn't that awareness, and his grandfather, going back even further, it was completely different, and your son will bring up his children differently. So that's
yeah,
one way.
yeah,
Absolutely, that's one way. Changing the story, working on yourself, all these things. Uh,
yeah.
it's happening. We are evolving as a species. Are we going to kill ourselves? Are we going to destroy the planet?
Yes, most definitely.
Possibly, very, very
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah,
That's definitely going off topic there.
yeah.
But it is education. It
Yeah,
absolutely is. It is respect. It is communication, and I do think people are getting better at it. Social media doesn't help. It's making it more polarized.
it
Um,
is. It's very polarized.
it is very polarized.
Yeah.
But then we are living in a very, very not bipolar, duality
Yeah.
existence. So it's kind of part of living that human experience. Is that the good, bad, happy, sad, left, right, right, wrong, up, down thing? There is always two sides to it. But it's education, it's learning to respect, it's communication, it is safety.
Yeah.
You know, when you feel safe, you drop your guard. You This is the irony. You know, you
Drop your
drop your
guard. Yeah.
guard, and that's when I'm not going to swear. That's when the triggers come back. You know,
Yes.
you drop your guard, you feel safe, and then oh,
Why
like
did I do
where
that?
the
Why? Why?
where the hell did that come from? You know, it's because these things actually want to get worked out. We don't want to live that whole life in that fear. So they crop up. So your children trigger you. You know, you told me this before, and my brother and sister have told me their children trigger them.
Yeah.
Partners trigger them. I trigger my girlfriend, she triggers me. And unfortunately, that's the tough part of a relationship. And you learn to communicate and work through it, but it's uncomfortable. So yeah, back to that. It's education, it's listening. You know, we've got two of these,
Yeah.
one of them, so listen more. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
but
You know how
it's
much?
not
Yeah.
it's not going
Go
to be
ahead.
quick. It's yeah. I was going to just wrap up by saying it's not going to be quick.
Yeah, yeah. You
Mm.
know, when you said that it's changing with generations, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
the irony is that yes, it is changing. I see women are bringing up their boys differently, and boys
Yeah.
are changing, definitely
Mm.
showing more feelings, feeling
Yeah.
okay to show their feelings. But here's the flip that I'm also noticing is that men are becoming more about feeling, right? Which is, I'm not saying that they shouldn't, right? And they're becoming more softer in the right way, in a masculine way, right? And women are becoming more empowered, which we were just talking about before, where we don't need him, we don't need a man, blah blah blah, that kind of narrative. I see that generation somehow, when I see the youngsters, right, I
Mm.
see the girls are becoming more meaner. I sit with girls, with girls moms who have younger girls, right? And there's always like, oh, she has a friend and she was mean to her, right? And girls are being more mean to girls, it's really bad. And then they're meaner to boys. I hear that from my son, that
Mm.
girls are very mean, we don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And that's not just him, it's a lot of other boys who are saying that. So I'm
Mm.
just kind of seeing that from here it's like going here.
Yeah.
We're not bringing it here where it should
Yeah.
be balanced, right? Now it's tilting there, and now it's going to be it's going to be the women making the men really suffer a lot more
Mm.
than men, because women are angry. Women are done not feeling safe in this
Mm.
world.
Yeah.
Women are done that they have to lock doors, they have to, even in a car, they have to look around on their dress, because they're dressed up and they get teased or whatever. So women,
Mm.
there's a lot of anger that's being
Mm.
passed down
Yep.
to our girls,
Mm.
right? That, and I've told my daughter, you have to, like, I've bought her stronger to survive in this world, because a man will eat you up, girl. So you have
Mm.
to have that thick skin kind of thing. So I see where you're saying that it is changing, but I don't see it changing for the good. It's bringing a different kind of trauma.
It's yeah. I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a logical backlash to the patriarchy. And it
Yeah.
absolutely is. You know,
Mm.
feminism in the 60s and 70s was healthy. Now it can be very toxic.
Toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a shame.
Yeah.
It is
Mm.
such a shame because, it was healthy. It was empowerment. Now it is, we don't need men. Well, men make the roads, men drill the oil, men do this, men do that, and that's
Mm.
men do the dangerous jobs. We
So
need
men
each
are
other.
dangerous. Yeah. Yeah.
we need each other. You know, if we want grandchildren and great grandchildren, you know, both sexes are still needed. You know,
Mm.
um, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was going to go off on tangent. Said, well, there are some ways where men aren't needed, but they are still needed for those banks and things like that. We'll just leave it at that. But then exactly, what are you going to get? So you know, it needs to swing back, and it will do, and it always swings too far one way, then too far the other way. It's a pendulum, and that's just it's what it is.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And we can wrap it up over here when we were talking about emotional triggers and stuff. Um, I completely own that I'm not trying to fix men, right?
Hmm.
But look, I've learned through my painful experience, um, and then obviously learning and healing and rehealing again and again, is like you said beautifully, it doesn't serve me when I say I'm here and you're there,
Hmm.
right? We are in this together, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I've learned that for me, how do I build safety for me in this cruel world where not all men, but most men don't make me feel safe?
Yeah.
I'll do my bit.
Hmm.
And I won't show up in a way that would ignite that fire in a man to do that. Not that I have to dress a certain way or whatever, but
Hmm.
showing up a certain way, right? And that's the emotional way, you know.
Hmm.
Just I've just learned that the emotional language has to be there regardless of what comes from the person in front of me. I was giving that to my husband. It wasn't received. And I could have shut down and said, all men are like that. But I continued, I extended that. And then I did
Hmm.
meet men who did communicate that, right? So instead of becoming bitter and resentful, that's a trauma response, is for me to heal and decide for me, how do I show up that can build that safety?
Hmm.
So for me, that is what role can I play in building that? First for women, and then for obviously men, because we have to coexist. We're
Yeah.
not fighting against each other. That's
No.
what the system is trying to do. That's what patriarchy is trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so, and I acknowledge you so much for making that. I'm going to make me safe in that process of me making me safe. I'm not going to attract those men who are dangerous because you just won't. You won't. They won't see you because you're not predictable. You're not.
Mm,
You're not easy victim for them. So you won't attract that. You will. You will put that love and energy out there for a man who has that similar kind of capacity for that safety, and
mm,
that's what happens. You'll trigger
mm,
each other because you're human. We're human. Um, but it is that capacity to make yourself feel safe. And once you feel safe, you begin to realize that all those stories are stories, and they are out of date.
mm,
Doesn't mean you're not going to feel safe walking outside the street because that's out of your control. But
mm,
when you can make your own safety, then you are building that safety for you and that foundation to walk on. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's hard,
It-
and men need to do that for themselves, and
Absolutely.
then with women. But it is a dance. It is. Um, I say 1+1 is 5 because 1+1 is 2, but you're bringing together. You're making when two people really come together with that safety. You're making something magical,
Yeah.
and it's to my mind, it's worth the triggers. It's worth the discomfort. It's worth having to have those awkward conversations and apologizing and this and that because you are making. There is something special, and when you stand on each other's toes, you're not doing it deliberately. You're doing it from safety, from not feeling safe, from whatever.
Yeah.
But talk and
Mm,
listen. Yeah.
yeah. And men
Mm.
trigger men too, and women trigger women too. I mean, it's just not
Mm.
opposites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hamish, thank you so much for today's conversation. I really want to acknowledge you. You held the space beautifully. And for everybody, where I mean, as many women that are in this room, I think they can say the same that I'm saying. For one man to stand up and acknowledge that, yes, men have not let women feel safe,
Mm.
makes us feel safe when a man acknowledges that. So I really want to truly appreciate you for making me feel safe in this space with you. And yeah, I wish you all the best. Thank you. See you next Friday.
Absolutely, thank you. This has been a uncomfortable conversation and a really interesting one, and I've enjoyed it, and it's been a good one. So yeah, thank you for holding space for me as well, and making me answer questions that were like, I need to feel into that a bit. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I wish you all the best. Take care, Hamish. I'll catch you next week.
absolutely.
Bye.
Bye bye.